Welcome everyone to the Q&A on the Thorndon section of the Let's Get Welly Moving. We're going to take the paper as read and just really fully utilise this time as a good, hearty Q&A. I imagine some councillors are going to come in eventually. We've got most of our councillors online. So what I'll ask is those online, if you have a question, just chuck your little Zoom hand up and we'll just kind of roll on through. Am I seeing? Yep. Councillor Pennant, do you have any questions? No? Does anyone online have any questions?
Where's Diane?
Anyone?
Diane?
Not at the moment.
Oh, cool.
I was wondering, Mifano, should I just introduce the team?
Introduce the team and just maybe give a high-level reminder of the, what this will kind of outcome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so I have Alan Kerr, also Greg Murison and Davinia Grist, and they are our team who can cover everything from benefits through to design through to stakeholder engagement. We also have MetLink again online as well, if there are any particular questions around MetLink. Perhaps if I just quickly summarise, you recall there are three parts to the Thorndon Quay Hutt Road improvements. The Aotea Quay roundabout that's already under construction, the Thorndon Quay piece, which is due to start in September. And then Hutt Road as well, which is the last of the pieces. So 3 phases. We're just looking at the moment at the arrangements with the contractor for the September start date. We're also looking on Hutt Road at connecting up with Te Tupua, which is very important. And that connection is being separately funded by Waka Kotahi, and that cost has increased from $4 million to $25 million. So Waka Kotahi are meeting that, which is helpful. Probably just being clear about those price increases. As you'll recall from discussions last week, construction price increases by around 20 to 25% have been incurred because of inflation. And we have had some other considerations that we've given for this. One thing we're looking at is a location for a turnaround on Hutt Road. You'll remember that we are continuing the safety median or retaining the safety median. We need to do that for the safety of all travellers along that corridor. Importantly to remember is that it's a significant corridor in terms of public transport. So everything that comes from the north, from a bus perspective, goes down that corridor, and it carries, a lot of passengers who are coming into the central city.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. That's a great, really great overview. I have a couple of questions. So that price increase you just outlined, so did you say that was being met by Waka Kotahi?
So the price increase just for the connection piece, which is a different, it's right on the end, connecting to Te Tupua, which is the cycleway that's under construction at the moment, and it's not a Let's Get Wellington Moving project, but it is a Waka Kotahi project.
Yep.
Yeah, they have met the price increase to maintain that connection.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You say from $4 million to $25 million?
Yes, that's right.
It doesn't sound like a 25% increase. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Thank you. So the original $4 million was based on, so if you think of the bridge that comes underneath State Highway 2 from the off-ramp of State Highway 2 into the Jarda Mile at the bottom of Ngaronga Gorge, it's based on using the existing bridge to put the cycleway in. We've done a lot of modelling and things like that says we think it will work. Waka Kotahi to date haven't been entirely convinced by that, and they have set aside a budget for a new tunnel basically under the highway, which is the $25 million. We don't expect it will end up there. As with everything within Let's Get Welly Moving, it's a choice how we use the space that we've got. Does that sort of clear up how it's got to that number?
Well, you're looking at a different option with a different cost. So initially we were looking at using what was existing, and what you're saying, Greg, is that you're now looking at doing something different, which is a separate tunnel.
Waka Kotahi's budget allows for an entirely new tunnel structure underneath the highway. That's not what our initial estimate was based on.
Thank you for that. I'm now starting to see some hands. Councillor Calvert.
Thank you. Can you tell me when Waka Kotahi will be determining whether they're going to put any money into this?
Yes.
When they're passing the decision, when is that?
So I'm just going to refer to Sarah Brownlee, who's our CFO, and she'll explain how that process works.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning, councillors. The Wakatahi have done an initial internal assessment in terms of at a management level and have supported the funding bid to go up to their board. The board is due to sit on the 6th of July to basically make a decision. They wait effectively to confirm that council has made their decision before they meet and actually then finally confirm that funding.
Why do they wait before us? Because aren't they contributing? What's the percentage they're contributing to this part of the project?
It's a 51% contribution.
I'd have to come back to you. I'd have to come back to you, Councillor Calvert, but my understanding is that it does fall under the FAR arrangements, and the FAR arrangements do rely on confirmation that local authorities have confirmed their funding before the central government funding is also confirmed.
Okay, thank you. So they're contributing 51. Presume Wellington City Council are contributing 49. Given it's the public transport benefits, why isn't Greater Wellington contributing to the implementation?
So, Councillor Calvert, as part of the FAR arrangements, there was an agreement around how particular projects would be funded. There was an agreement in terms of percentages around business cases, which was the 60-20-20. In terms of actually for projects that deliver asset ownership, that was agreed as part of the FAR arrangement that would be done under the FAR agreements.
Yes. So, but why aren't Greater Wellington contributing? I mean, are they getting no benefit? Because surely this is about the buses being able to run better.
Councillor Calvert, it's Siobhan here. So, as Sarah said, it's part of the relationship funding agreement that asset owners. It follows the current FAR system that we have now. So that's already been agreed.
Yeah. Look, I know you keep telling me that. But you're not answering my question, because I mean, I know with the Golden Mile business case, there was plans for them to contribute back when it was originally done, because there's 50% business benefits were coming from public transport. Yet, when was the decision? When did the parties agree, or when was a decision from Greater Wellington that they weren't contributing to the implementation of this?
So, Councillor Calvert, it's Moana here. At the end of the day, the funding split will be done as a wash-up. So Greater Wellington will be paying their fair share. They'll be paying through the transformational program. But as Siobhan said, under the current relationship and funding agreement, the asset owner is who ends up paying the local share. So that's a 51-49% FAR, but overall, the funding split, which currently sits at 60-20-20, that will be met as part of the wash-up.
Okay. So tell me, the other thing is, you said there's been a 25% increase. A 25% increase from when?
No, what I said was that costs have been impacted by inflation, which was meant a 20 to 25% increase.
Yeah, but from when did that increase from? What was that, from the initial business case? Is that 18 months ago? Just trying to get an idea.
I know you have had the slides, and if you look at the slide that talks about the revised cost estimate, you will see it reflects detailed design work, construction cost inflation and scope changes, including the property. And if you look at the cost estimates, you'll see that the changes from the SSBC, so the business case in February 2022, to the detailed design. So the costs have increased for P95, which is 95% probability that costs will come in or under budget, from 77 million to 94 million.
Thank you. And is the, unlike the Golden Mile, apparently is only a 60% design, is this complete? Is the design for this pretty much complete before you plan on making the changes?
Yes, we are at 100% design.
Okay, thank you. Just as an aside, when I'm talking about the Golden Mile, can you tell me why it's only a 60% design? Or if you haven't got those people, that group with you?
No, I'm sorry. We were expecting Golden Mile questions this morning, so I haven't got the right team with me.
But we have that later today.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Pennant.
Thank you. Very exciting. Long overdue, so it's going to be great to vote for it. I've just got two questions. I think there's legitimate concern around increasing costs, and I guess I'm just wondering if you feel confident going forward that we're not going to get too many more unpleasant surprises.
So with construction, there is always an element of risk. But we do everything we can to try and work through those uncertainties. So I'm wondering if any of the team are able to talk about the QA processes that we've been through. Yeah. So I'll ask Greg to just talk about the things that we've done to try and give confidence to this number.
Good morning. I guess firstly, because we're now at a fairly advanced stage of design, as Sarah said, we're now at a 100% design, or essentially a very detailed design. So some of the costs will have come about as we've developed the design further and started to understand more of the complexities of things that we've got going on, and now we think we have a very good handle on that. We've also, as you've noted in the paper where it says we've got a P50 and a P95 cost estimate, we've been through a fairly rigorous process of working out all the risks that might exist in the program and how likely they might be, and that's how that final number has been developed. So that's sort of risk inclusive final number. I was actually in that process, and I thought it was fairly comprehensive in terms of the risks and things that we've captured. So, you know, while things may go wrong, we're pretty confident that we've thought about them already, and so that there's some sort of contingency built into that number that allows for some of that to be absorbed. So, yeah, and I guess the other thing is that we're already underway on Aotearoa Quay, and so some of the things that we learned from that, or some of the things that the way the contractor's performing and working with the team here has been very encouraging about how proactive we can be and how we can get things solved and keep moving pretty quickly.
Okay, thank you. The other question I've got is, and I'm very sceptical on this issue, is around calculating of time savings for pedestrians and bus users. I don't really think it's worth the paper it's written on particularly, but we've got a bit more time now. Can you just talk to me how Waka Kotahi is valuing it currently? Because I haven't looked at this for a while.
So I'll ask Alan to do that.
Good morning, councillors. So travel time savings for bus users are calculated using a simulation model. So we use a tool called Aimson, and it develops a representation of the corridor which is the bus is going through it. And so what you're able to look at there is the travel time from A to B before and after the scheme has been implemented. So the difference in travel time is extracted directly from the model and then applied through the monetised cost and benefit manual, which is the Waka Kotahi process for calculating benefit cost ratios. So the pedestrian element is less about travel time. There is a component of travel time, but it's more about urban realm and the quality of the environment through which the pedestrians are walking. And there's some safety benefits for pedestrians as well, where we're improving crossings.
But the bus users, you think, are getting quite a lot of time saving?
The bus users are getting some time saving. I wouldn't overestimate it. I mean, it's about a minute or 2 minutes in the morning peak. But the key benefit for bus users is actually about reliability. So you can get the improvement in reliability, and I might get the figure wrong, but it's somewhere between about 40 and 60% improvement in travel time reliability. Excuse me. So that means that if you're travelling from, say, Johnsonville into the city on the bus, you can be much more confident that it's going to take as long as it says it is on the Metlink app. At the moment, there's quite a bit of unreliability, particularly as you get closer to the city. And so there are some benefits there that are worth claiming.
Okay, and just last question. So how is our time valued? What does the model say? So if you save that 1 or 2 minutes, what's it valued at?
Yeah, so you take the number of people that benefit from 1 or 2 minutes and then multiply that by a standard value of time, which is from the new Waka Kotahi guidance, which only came out in April this year. I can't remember the exact figure in terms of dollars per hour, but there's a standardised value of time that's applied.
Can you send that to us?
That
would be incredibly useful.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Randall.
Thank you. As someone who bussed in from Johnsonville 20 years, I hope there would be some. My first question is, given that the design is 100% done, why are we only having this workshop 3 days before we're expected to approve this thing? And where are the designs?
Well, this isn't a workshop, this is a Q&A on the paper, but I suppose in terms of designs...
In which case, why didn't we have a workshop?
So we've had various council briefings along the way that have explained the process that we've gone through, and you've also had TR consideration for Aotea Quay, and I believe you're about to consider TRs for Thorndon Quay. So you have had design information along the way.
We can always do a workshop, Councillor Randall. You'll be getting traffic resolutions.
Yes. It's understandable. I'm very, very uncomfortable with approving funding for a solution which I actually haven't seen in real detail, and been taken through the logic of some of the decisions that are in the proposal.
If it can be accommodated within your schedule, we're very happy to offer you a design workshop.
Okay. Of course, I'm also interested in how you've worked out the costings and the benefits. You will be willing to share the benefit cost calculations with councillors who are interested, such as myself?
Absolutely, yes.
Cool, thank you. Those outcomes are really useful. Thank you. Councillor Free.
Yeah, thank you. So the reliability improvements that you've just talked about, the Johnsonville to the city, and you're thinking of a 60% increase in reliability, 40 to 60%. Is that mainly on the approach to the city, or is that mainly in the Golden Mile? What's the breakdown for the Golden Mile in terms of that percentage contribution?
So I'm talking purely in terms of the Thorndon Quay Hutt Road corridor, so that's on the approach to the city from the north. So there are two areas. So AM peak reliability is on the approach into the city. PM peak reliability is actually on the approach to the Nauranga intersection.
Because I thought that you were talking about improvements that we were going to gain from making changes to the Golden Mile. Because I know that Iona was certainly talking about the bus situation in the city, not on the Thorndon Quay or...
So just to be really clear, Councillor Free, this team is the team that are doing Thorndon Quay Hutt Road. You'll recall we've had different faces around the table for the Golden Mile, so we're only talking Thorndon Quay Hutt Road this morning.
Okay, all right. Then I'll ask my question about Thorndon Quay. We haven't yet had the consultation. I know because it's coming to my committee for traffic resolution approval. We've got a whole process to go through yet with that, hearing submissions and making a decision. But you're talking about, Councillor Randall made the point that you're asking us to approve funding prior to a decision and hearing feedback. And also, I guess that feeds into the
Yeah, I think I can answer that, Sarah. So our standard process would be, and it is the same as we always run these things, is you have a business case that you would approve for significant projects. A business case would be approved with funding. So that business case has already been approved. So what we're asking for now is an increase in that budget with the funding, and then you go into the traffic resolution process.
But I even have a problem with that, because we're hearing that the design is 100% at the 100% stage, but we also have heard that there's confusion about whether it's going to be a bridge or a tunnel, and also that we don't yet know where the turnaround is. So
That's
no, have I got
the
that wrong?
connection piece. That's the connection piece, and the TRs that you'll be looking at will be for just Thorndon Quay only.
Okay, and not the turnaround. I suppose it doesn't need a TR. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Randall.
Yes. So there's going to be public transport benefits. How many more public transport passengers are predicted to come from this change?
So at the moment, we're modelling a 40% increase in bus users along the corridor. That's, I would say, a relatively conservative estimate, and it's out for 10 years. Beyond that, I would expect patronage to continue to grow, but we've not forecast that, so we've capped the benefits after 10 years. So it's a relatively conservative approach. When we looked at it at the programme business case stage, which would have been probably 6 or 7 years ago now, we saw higher levels of benefit than that. But for the purposes of this particular part of the programme, we've kept it relatively tight.
Okay.
40%.
Okay, so roughly how many passengers is that?
Give me a couple of minutes and I'll look at my report.
Okay. So while I'm asking another question, what's the updated P95 cost for the City Streets program?
So there isn't one, and the reason why there isn't one is because the City Streets projects, of which there are several, have not progressed to the point where we would be updating that figure yet. So they haven't got to the end of their business case stage.
Okay, because you're asking essentially to remove City Streets approved funding to enable these other two programs to proceed.
So you're right. The approach that's been taken is we've looked at the transitional program as a whole, which includes what was the 3-year program and the City Streets program, and we have looked at how you might accommodate the cost increases within that budget. And so we are talking about what are called Tranche 2 projects, of which there are 5. That would not be done potentially under the City Streets budget, and there are other City Streets proposals that we're continuing to work through and look at that could be rescoped, some not necessarily for a budget saving or for this purpose, but we have looked at some of these things and understood where there are opportunities for rescoping. What has been the approach is that we will continue to the end of business case stage for each of the City Streets projects, and then look at what makes the most sense in terms of proceeding or refining scope.
Okay, and which 5?
So the Tranche 2 projects, I don't have the list off the top of my head, but I can get them for you.
Yeah, okay, it'll be good to get that out. Is one of those 5 the proposal to put a cycleway along Featherstone Street?
No, I don't believe it is.
So that's one of those ones that may not go ahead.
No, it's not one of those ones.
Okay. So I'm sure if we've got my figure. I'm very keen to find out what the number of additional bus passengers there'll be along.
Yes, I've got the number.
Yeah.
So conveniently, we're a nice around 10,000 per day at the moment coming along there. It'll go up to 14,000. So those are round numbers. I can get you a more detailed breakdown now.
Okay.
Just have to go back and pick that up.
So I guess my last question is, given there's another 4,000 passengers coming along Thorndon Quay in the next 10 years, and the Golden Mile can only take maybe another 1,000 more, where are the other 4,000 passengers a day going to go?
So I might refer to Metlink at this point if they are still online. Yes, Alex is there. I'm not sure if Alex can help us with this question. I can certainly talk about the second spine, of course, but Alex.
Territory of the discussion we've had around the second spine. The Golden Mile will be approaching capacity around 2025 if we continue on our current planned growth. We are planning to grow bus service capacity by 52% over the next 10 years. Based on that, the Golden Mile reaches capacity about 2025, and we are working with Let's Get Welly Moving on opportunities for an overflow interim second spine ahead of the future MRT corridor on the waterfront.
So, Alex, are you also looking at articulated buses perhaps for that route as well? So buses with greater capacity?
We already have high capacity buses on this corridor with double deck buses. All the routes that can practically be cleared for those are essentially cleared now, apart from potentially some school bus operations. The articulated bus discussion is really more relevant to the enhanced bus to the east and routed through to Karori in the west of the city.
Yeah. So where is this interim alternate second bus corridor going to go? Is it like on the quays? You're going to have a bus lane on the quays?
Well, that's not actually confirmed yet. I mean, I think Sarah I'll probably have to hand to Sarah because that's still a discussion that is live with Let's Get Welly Moving.
I can confirm the exact location for you, but the second spine discussion is part of the acceleration piece that is being looked at under the transformational program. So that's just being looked at right now with some initial thoughts coming to the program leadership team this week.
Yeah. Do you really think it's a good idea to construct a bus lane along Hutt Road and Thorndon Quay, leading into, I guess, a bus terminal or Featherstone Street or the Aotea Quay, where it's unknown where those buses are going to go?
So, as I've explained previously, integration's a really important part of the work that we do. So we have all of these dependencies, if you like, or constraints and dependencies in our mind when we're thinking about the timing of works, and that will be an important part of the discussion for whether we accelerate the second spine. So I guess what I'm saying to you is you can have some reassurance that we're across some of these challenges and that we are currently considering what's possible for that second spine.
So certainly integration is a very big part of my thinking as well, and I guess I'm just seeing one project which is going to lock down an ability to increase capacity through the CBD with the Golden Mile, and another project is going to increase the bus patronage heading into the Golden Mile, and we want to approve those two. And the actual piece of work that's going to actually handle those increased public transport users that are coming in, and not just from the north, but probably also from Karori with articulated buses. There's no plan or design or any agreement, it seems, and certainly no funding. So I am uncomfortable. I'm afraid I would like to see more of a joined up overall plan, and I don't see that being presented.
I've got you down on the list. Councillor Calvert.
Thank you. And this whole integration, so tell me, the Golden Mile is being managed by, is it Oricom and GHD? Are they the ones doing that in the transformational projects? Is that the main?
We do have different teams working on different pieces, but you get the integration because we have an overarching transitional program director, and we also have a transformational program director. So in addition to that, today our general manager of integration has started, so we're bolstering our integration capability right now.
So we've got these different groups doing this project. So somebody doing Thorndon Quay, somebody doing Golden Mile, another group doing Featherstone Street. We haven't got the the second spine sorted. So you can see how we're really concerned that a program that was developed for the very reason of integration, in part, is actually only just starting a GM integration manager. It just...
Sorry, councillors, this isn't debate.
Okay,
so
but I'm just trying to understand how effective do you believe that your integration has been to date? And have you had any feedback or commentary even from external reviewers about the integration aspect?
Is there anything that
I'm
anyone
happy
else would like to
speak
add?
to that. Councillor Calvert is your representative in the program. I agree it's good we've got this integration manager coming on board, but integration has been there. The decision was made by council to split off early delivery and city streets in order to get them going, and so that we can have these discussions before we move into MRT, because the changes that we're making in early delivery and in city streets are going to mean that people are going to be able to continue to get around our city when we're in construction for MRT, and that our city doesn't grind to a halt. So it was a decision of councillors, and it has made it a little bit of a challenge to ensure that people can still see that whole big picture, which is what we presented to you when we bought the program business case. But I think the right decision was made to get these projects up and running, to get these alternative modes of active and public transport optimised as much as possible, so when we move into construction, we're ahead of the game. That's something we've learned from other cities who haven't taken a similar approach.
I think we can all see the integration or what it's meant to be. It's just more about how it's actually happened. So can you tell...
Perhaps Alan can help you a little.
I can answer it at a technical level anyway, and some of the work that we've done. So because my team look after the modelling and we look
So sorry, can you just are you part of a Let's Get Willie Moving? You're part of an external consultancy?
I'm an external consultant working for various different parts of the programme. So as well as working on the Golden Mile and the Thorndon Quay project, I'm involved in the transformational project. And the reason for that is because my team does a lot of the modelling work, and the modelling is being excuse me, coordinated at a programme-wide level. So we're not looking at these packages in isolation, although we might report some bits in isolation. The overall suite of modelling covers the entire city. So we've got a standalone model that runs everywhere from the Nowinga Gorge down to the airport. In fact, it goes up a bit towards Johnsonville as well. And then a wider regional model which looks at the split between different modes of transport. And so for that, we have to assume how these packages are going to work together. So that will include how the emerging preferred option for the Golden Mile interfaces with the preferred option for Thorndon Quay Hutt Road, and it includes assumptions around how the buses will route through the central city once the Golden Mile is implemented, but before the transformational programme is implemented. The transformational programme is going to put an MRT service along the waterfront, but until we've got to that point, we have to put the buses somewhere else. So there is an assumption, an operational assumption baked into the model that allows those buses to continue to operate using a combination of Featherstone Street for southbound buses and northbound buses along the waterfront quays. So in other words, they, rather than doing the loop through Brandon Street and back up Louncon Quay, kind of do a loop round the other way and go up the waterfront corridor.
Yeah, it's just that we're about to spend 200 million plus between the both projects. So having something key like that determined prior would be good. Can you tell me why it's WCC the principal contractor in the works of this? Because Waka Kotahi is funding the majority, albeit 51%.
I can answer that. So we're the principal to the contract on this because we're the asset owner. So just like with any other projects on our road corridor, we're the principal to the contract.
Deputy Mayor Foon.
Yeah, kia ora, and thank you for the work. Just the rescoping of the city streets, will Council and Greater Wellington have the ability to fund these projects down the track, or are we at a capped place with the whole Let's Get Welly Moving project?
So the City Streets projects are already part of the existing budget, part of the transformational budget, so they are funded. And it's a matter of cutting our cloth to make the best use of that funding we have available across the 3-year program and the City Streets program. As you're aware, the transformational program is funded up until the end of the business case. And then funding after that is yet to be determined.
Right, okay, so really if we want to carry on funding those projects, we have the ability to do so. we can do so?
Yes, you can. What we're really saying is that if you didn't, really just put it simply, instead of you having to find more money out of your council budget when you make a funding decision this week, what we have suggested is that you take more of the money that's set aside for city streets, put it into these two projects that you'll be considering this week. We can then cut our cloth on city streets so that we're not asking you for more money.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. One more question on that, and I think we were I think Councillor Randall was getting there, but when will what is the timeline for looking at the rescoping of city streets at this point?
So each of the city streets projects are on slightly different timeframes, but what we have agreed with the program board is that we will bring each of those to the end of their business case point, and it's at that point that the refine of scope will be considered. So case by case basis, there will be some as we work through consultation, get public feedback, for example, where there might be changes that need to be made. That might either mean that we can refine scope and reduce the scope. There might be some where public feedback tells us there are things we need to do in addition. So that's the perfect time really to look once we've got enough information so that we can make those informed choices.
That's awesome. Thank you. Kia ora.
Councillor Free.
Yeah, so if the second spine is so crucial, would it be better value for our dollars to actually start on that and not dig up Lambton Quay? Given that the savings on Lambton Quay for buses appear to be very, very, very small, and the reliability would be improved maybe more by a second spine than by what we're planning to do.
So I think you have to look at this as a whole system, and the benefits that you get on the Golden Mile, which we're obviously I don't have the team in front of me this morning, but they also carry on in terms of the rest of the network. So if you make a change for one part of the network, then chances are that benefit will be felt in the rest of the network.
Okay. I have another question. The benefits of the 5 city streets that are going to be cancelled because we're spending more money on the Golden Mile, there's lots and lots of time savings I would have thought in those city streets projects in Karori, which was meant to be a priority in the east, which was also meant to be a priority in other places. Has there been any evaluation of the benefits that are foregone from not doing those 5 city streets projects in terms of the benefits gained for buses, and I'm only talking about buses because people care about public transport, the benefits for buses on this Golden Mile? Yeah.
Hi, Councillor Free. In terms of the decisions at the moment around city streets, so there haven't been specific decisions to put off any specific projects. No.
There are 5 that we may not be able to do.
In fact, we're meant to be finding out which 5.
Okay, Councillor Free. If I can just continue briefly, is that what we're looking at doing is saying that at the moment, in order to be able to fund the early delivery as well as the city streets, there is contention against that transitional program budget. There is the ability to be able to say we could effectively prioritise within that city streets, and tranche 2, which was not designed to kick off for SSBC stage until 2025, and then actually eventually start delivery in 2027, actually assuming that those didn't go ahead, but there's no decision that those are the projects at the moment. If those didn't go ahead, then that would be sufficient to basically cover the additional funding at this stage. However, what the program is suggesting is that all of the SSBCs continue to completion so that in fact those projects can then be properly prioritised based on what the benefits are overall. Just to put that in context, in terms of benefit cost ratios, so you have Golden Mile sitting at 5.3, you have TQHR sitting at 2.4. The overall IBC, when the city streets was done, also provided effectively an overall benefit cost ratio of 2.3. So in terms of actually the comparability, the benefits at the overall IBC level was comparable with TQHR. But what we're looking at doing is actually looking at deprioritising those with a lower benefit as part of that overall review of city streets. Now, that doesn't prevent council from longer term, as you look into your long-term plans, though, going, actually, we would like more of these to continue to go ahead. All we're doing is saying, given the current constraints of your current long-term plan, our recommendation is that those city streets are prioritised.
Sorry, but that doesn't, I don't really get
Councillor,
it.
this isn't...
Yeah. Okay, I've got one more question. We're not getting any funding at all from Greater Wellington, really. I mean, a few bus stops and what have you. But when do we have the wash-up so that we can actually rebalance the contribution from various different partners in this project? And if we were to do city streets, would we not get more of a contribution from Greater Wellington for that? I'm really worried our funding is going to run out and we would have spent money in the wrong places. It's in terms of the public transport benefits, which has always been a huge thing for me. But we got to do the rebalancing, and if we were to go ahead with the city streets, instead of spending lots of money on Thorndon, on Lambton Quay, for example, would we get a better balance of funding from our partners?
Can I just give a bit of context to the relative benefits? So when we did the IBC for city streets, we got $680 million of benefits. Yep, so $680 million of benefits for city streets. Golden Mile and Thorndon Quay Hutt Road, between them, return over $1 billion worth of benefits. So it just gives you a bit of context
Would
there.
it be fair to say you're not really comparing apples with apples, because you put all those pedestrian benefits into the Golden Mile, and what I'm really interested in, and what I believe the people of Wellington are interested in, is the public transport benefits.
So this is a city transformational program. So whilst public transport's very important, it's one component, the other benefits are just as relevant.
And also, Councillor Free, these decisions are being made based on decisions that Council has made along the Bike Network Plan, the Bus Priority Action Plan, our parking policy, and continuously councillors have voted to put pedestrians at the top of our sustainable transport hierarchy, so we are following Council instruction.
But it would be fair to say the costs have hugely increased since that time.
They have, but we're cutting our cloth. We're not coming back and saying, give us more money, we're cutting our cloth. And I think that's a responsible thing to do.
Okay.
I'm going to take a couple more questions and then start to wrap it up, because it's starting to go off track a bit. Okay, cool. Councillor Randall.
Yes, thank you. I guess a question is that we've been put the two main projects that have been evaluated, and the evaluation for the city streets has not been completed. I guess I would ask why are we having this put now, when if we had the city streets evaluated as well, we could actually ourselves as councillors make the choice as to which was to be prioritised. In a sense, you've sort of made the decision as to which programs to be prioritised, when it may well be, having looked at the costs and the benefits, we may want to prioritise city street programs, say over the Thorndon Quay Hutt Road program. It's sort of very frustrating. Why was that decision made to present this information like this and not complete the city streets as part of the package?
I can probably answer that, Councillor Randall. So Council has made that decision. So Council has made all of these decisions along with Waka Kotahi and Greater Wellington leading up to this point.
So Council hasn't decided. When did Council decide that city streets was less important than the other two?
So in the program business case, there was an outline of the order of the projects, and that's when we decided we would focus on the early delivery program, as it was called then, and the early delivery program included the Golden Mile and Thorndon Quay Hutt Road, for the very reason that they returned the highest benefits of all of those projects in that city street portfolio.
I think the other piece of that is that the program, because of those decisions, the program was never working to a situation where you would have had all of these things coming to you at the same time with all of the information to evaluate in the way that you're asking. So we've worked to the priorities that we were given, which is Thorndon Quay Hutt Road. The City Streets program is on a different track. As I said, there are several projects within City Streets. They will finish their SSBCs at different times. If you applied the logic that, say, for example, you waited until you had all of the City Streets work done, you'd be several more years down the track, and construction costs likely will increase over that period.
I'm sorry, I'm not waiting for them to be done. I'm just waiting for it to be evaluated.
No, that's what I'm saying, though. If you wanted to wait to get everything to the same point, then you would be waiting 2 or 3 years in order to have all of that information for all of the City Streets projects all coming together at the same time.
Okay.
That's not the way the program's planned.
I'm not seeing any more hands up. In that case, I might bring this session to an end.